Want questions?
No questions will be fine, thank you.
Are there any questions of David John? Yanni?
Well, thank you. And thank you for the additional memo. I just note that you've got the centre parade not blacked out, but then the other ones are blacked out. And can you just help me understand why or what the process is around a decision on that building? I think in the memo you referenced waiting for the master plan to be complete.
Yeah.
If some of us were keen to look at a funding reduction to the centre parade, because we're funding them for rent at the moment, as a result of this deal, that frees up that space, what's the best way to get that today?
So from a process point of view, it's the leaseholder, CSG, Christchurch School of Gymnastics, responsibility to explore whether they're able to sell that building to another user, and then they would come back to council via the community board to sort of say, council happy for this building to be passed on to this new tenant, and is council happy to then issue a new lease to that party, and that would come through from recommendation of the community board straight back to council for consideration.
So at the moment, we need to get approval from CSG around any relationship. So have we asked them about the centre parade being a tenant?
So we haven't left CSG alone in this situation, as we would do in any lease situation that hold public council land, and we've been working actively with them about prospective tenants, as some of the councillors have been involved in discussions, as well as prospective tenants that could potentially be interested in taking on that building, recognising what it would be fit for. And so there's a list of 4 or 5 that have been investigated or actively in discussions now. And so if CSG continue in the momentum they're going to move on to a new site and build in a new site, then we'll be lifting the level of energy and support to help them find someone that may be palatable to council for them to go through that decision-making process.
I was sorry, I'm probably not being very clear. It's a lot of money that we're being asked to put into the project, and I'm trying to look at a way in which we can reduce. So we're currently paying a grant of X amount to the centre parade for rental.
Yeah.
So it seems to me if we agree to put extra money into the School of Gymnastics, we actually get an asset that we could offset some costs that we have, which would make the transaction over the 10 years pretty much cost neutral. And I was just trying to see how we actually get that decided today as part of this deal, rather than leave it for a later process, which would, as it seems in the memo, we're exploring other uses that probably wouldn't save us much money, and we end up having an additional cost that's ongoing as well.
So that would have been my ideal, to turn up here today and be able to present a total package. We haven't achieved that yet, so it does require a bunch of work to be completed by the centre parade to be happy that they would take on that building, because they would be taking on a liability as opposed to an asset. No building's really an asset, and that they would need to be comfortable in there. So they've been provided all the information from CSG so they can do their due diligence about whether they're happy to take that building on and own it and maintain it and be responsible for the liability. And so we aren't in a position yet. They need to make that decision themselves before the council's in a position to make a decision on the lease.
Okay, so they're basically offered the building and they're doing due diligence.
Yeah.
Have we got a time frame before we know from that?
So I haven't been in contact with them recently, and I'll do so soon.
Pauline?
Yeah, just a quick question on the total funds that were received from the sale of the land. In the memo it says there's 250 already gone from that. Where did that go? Did that go to the master plan?
So that's an amount that has been estimated for the master planning process.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Sarah?
Just in the memo, it's clear here that the community board are supportive, which is great, and they're the ones who know their community best about expectations around the master plan and funding. But it's also clear here that they're quite keen to recoup any money and to get that back again should there be a disposal of the building. But I'm quite keen for us to be able to have that offset other costs like centre parade and things. So how are we able to incorporate that into what we're doing today?
So unfortunately I don't believe it is possible to do it today.
Okay.
what was discussed with the community board on Friday was obviously with their aspirations of
Get on with it.
maintaining
Yeah.
as much as possible for the master plan process,
Yeah.
how we could gain that, and we talked through them with Glenn and David's support to sort of say, well, that would be something that would come through the lease process in the future.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Could I just add, probably in response to your question, Sarah, and yours, Yanni, that the Christchurch School of Gymnastics hold a ground lease from the council on that portion of QE2. Should the council wish to propose any changes to that, there may be some legal or consultative processes that we have to go through. That adds complexity and sort of justifies our answer to you that we're not able to preempt or include these arrangements at this point in time.
But just checking that the community board haven't been given any expectations that money from the disposal or otherwise or leasing would come back to them rather than offsetting costs?
No, totally not.
No.
Yeah. So, another question?
Based on John's answer, can I just get clarified? The School of Gymnastics will still, so we've done a new lease with the new site and we'll give them the funding. As part of that, there's no relinquishing the lease that they've currently got on their existing building. So effectively they can choose to do what they want with that existing building as long as they get approval through us.
So they're required under the terms of the new lease within, I think it's either 6 months or 18 months of moving into the new building, all going well, that they need to demolish that building or have council approval to lease it to a new, sell it to a new party.
I got a mover for the recommendation. Dave, Glenn, seconding. Okay, any debate? Sarah?
Oh, just quickly, I mean, the Christchurch School of Gymnastics do an amazing amount of really good work and provide a fantastic space for a huge range of different community groups throughout the city. And I really want to see that continue. So I'm really happy that we're able to do this today. I'm a little bit concerned about the timing in that the community haven't had a chance to say on the aspirations for the master plan for QE2 prior to us making a decision on some of the funding being used. But the community board are in favour of this and they're the ones that know their community best, and so completely willing to take the community board's steer on this and the local councillors, and it will be up to them to manage the expectations of the community through that master planning process. So really happy to do this.
Great, thanks. Mover and seconder, and Glenn?
Yeah, thank you. I think when you look at this facility, it's good for both the east and the city. So you may remember that it produced, or out of the many people that have come out and done well, Courtney McGregor went to the Olympics. And if you look at the environment in which she and others have had to train, it's not flash. So I think if we can do this, it'll be good for not only the east, but for the city. We've heard already today too that there's a wider community and city good in how it can assist people of all ages and abilities there. This would be in keeping with what the CSG intends to do and the aspirations of the board. Probably not ideal to do it this way, but then if we don't do it like this, we've got to look elsewhere in the LTP, and you know as well as I do how tight things are. So there's a sense in which it's an internal financial swap, if you like, within that fund. So it would be good if you could support it.
Dave?
Thank you. Look, I'd just like to give support to this motion here today. This proposal to relocate the School of Gymnastics has been going on now for probably 2 or 3 years, and to some degree the location, the final location that the School of Gymnastics has landed upon is a consequence of some of our machinations around how things have ended up on QE2, and that final location has actually ended up probably costing them a considerable amount more in ground remediation. Initially we were proposing to locate this facility alongside the new sport and recreation facility there, which may have offered some economies of scale in terms of ground remediation. We've heard today the wide and varied benefit that this group offers to not only the local community but the wider community of Christchurch. I believe it is a very beneficial organisation to the eastern suburbs and to the city as a whole, and I think the presentation we heard earlier really does reinforce the wide range of activities that this group does offer our community. The Crusaders in giving the letter of support probably didn't actually say that at one stage they went there and had a bit of a pre-season training session themselves. So it is wide and varied, and I would ask my fellow councillors that they support this remit. And as Glenn has said, it isn't the most ideal way that we would have liked to have funded this application, but the reality is it was going to be this way or not at all. So thank you for your consideration.
I'll put the motion. Okay, I'll put it. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carried. Thank you very much indeed.